Hello everyone, and welcome to How-FixIT. If your DJI RC2 remote controller has a cracked or broken screen, the touchscreen is not responding. The display is flickering or glitching, or the screen stays black even though the controller powers on. The screen assembly may need to be replaced. In this video, I'll show you how to open the remote controller, remove the damaged LCD touchscreen assembly, install a replacement screen, and reassemble the controller step by step. For this repair, you will need a precision screwdriver set. You will also need plastic pry tools, a pair of tweezers, a suction cup, and a screen separator tool for removing the display. To install the replacement screen, you will need B7000 adhesive. I've included links to the tools and replacement parts in the video description below. I also recommend using a magnetic mat to organize all screws and small parts during the repair. The DJI RC2 uses many small screws of different sizes, and keeping each screw in the correct location will make reassembly much easier. A magnetic mat also helps keep small metal parts in place and reduces the risk of losing screws or installing them in the wrong locations. So, let's get started. Before you begin disassembling the controller, remove both control sticks. If they are stored in the rear storage area, remove them from the storage slots. Next, remove the two screws from the bottom of the remote controller. The screws are located in the recessed accessory mounting area. Use the 1.0mm Phillips screwdriver to remove these two screws. The next two screws are hidden behind the control stick storage slot. Using a plastic spudger or tweezers, carefully remove the rubber stick holder. This part is held in place with double-sided adhesive. If necessary, you can warm the area slightly with a hair dryer to soften the adhesive and make removal easier. Remove the two hidden screws underneath using a 1.5mm hex screwdriver. After removing the screws, you can begin opening the controller housing. I recommend creating the first gap at the bottom of the controller near the USB-C charging port. Insert a thin plastic pry tool into the gap and carefully release the plastic clips around the perimeter. Work slowly around the edges of the controller. Do not force the housing apart, as this may damage the plastic clips or the internal cable connecting the rear cover. Once the cable is disconnected, you can safely separate the controller housing. The rear cover assembly contains the gimbal dial, camera control dial, and the C1 and C2 buttons. Set the rear cover aside and continue working with the front housing. The DJI RC2 uses two internal 18650 lithium-ion battery cells. To remove them, first disconnect both battery connectors from the main board. I recommend using a plastic tool around the battery connectors. If you use metal tweezers, be careful not to bridge the contacts, as this could cause a short circuit. After removing the batteries, we can move on to the cooling fan assembly. Remove the 6 screws securing the fan assembly using a 2.5mm Phillips screwdriver. The fan cable uses very thin wires, so never pull directly on the wires when disconnecting it. Use tweezers to carefully disconnect the fan connector by gripping the connector itself. Now you can remove the cooling fan assembly. Carefully use a plastic tool to remove the metal heat spreading plate. There is thermal paste between the metal plate and the main board, so do not wipe it off. You can reuse the thermal paste if it is still in good condition. If the thermal paste is dry, dirty, or damaged, apply fresh thermal compound during reassembly. Now disconnect the display flex cable from the main board, temporarily place the rear cover back over the controller, and make sure the rear cover cable does not touch the thermal paste. The cover does not need to be snapped into place. We are installing it temporarily to protect the exposed internal components while removing the display from the housing. Use a standard hair dryer to heat the screen surface. Heat the screen for about 1 minute. This should be enough to soften the adhesive underneath the display. Remember, successful screen removal depends on heating the adhesive sufficiently. Attach the suction cup close to the edge of the screen and pull the ring upward. Then insert the blade of the screen separator into the gap between the screen and the controller housing. From this position, begin separating the display from the housing. If you cannot create the first gap, apply additional heat to the screen with the hair dryer. Continue heating each side of the screen before separating the adhesive in that area. Once you have successfully separated the adhesive around the entire perimeter of the screen, do not rush to remove the display completely. Additional adhesive tape in the center of the back of the display module may still be holding it to the housing. A screen replacement may be necessary if the front glass is cracked or broken, the LCD has black spots, colored or vertical lines, flickering, image distortion, damaged areas, or if the touchscreen no longer responds correctly to touch. I've included a link to a replacement screen assembly for the DJI RC2 remote controller in the video description below. If the image is displayed normally but the touchscreen is completely or partially unresponsive, the problem may be related to the touchscreen digitizer or its flex cable. When replacing the complete display assembly, both the LCD and touchscreen are replaced together. Remove any remaining old adhesive from the controller housing before installing the replacement screen. Now let's move on to testing the new screen before permanently gluing it into place. Install the replacement screen into the housing and make sure the display flex cable is positioned correctly inside the controller. Secure the display temporarily to the housing with adhesive tape. Remove the rear cover and connect the display flex cable to the main board. Reinstall the metal heat spreading plate and the cooling fan assembly, then secure the fan assembly with the 6 screws. Connect the fan cable to the main board and reinstall both battery cells. Temporarily place the rear cover back onto the controller. There is no need to snap all of the housing clips into place at this stage. Power on the remote controller and check the display image and test the touchscreen. If the replacement screen and touchscreen work properly, you can proceed with the final installation. Remove the battery cells, cooling fan assembly, and metal heat spreading plate. Then disconnect the display flex cable from the main board and remove the replacement screen from the controller housing. To bond the new screen to the housing, I'll use B7000 adhesive. This adhesive remains flexible after curing and works well for securing display assemblies. Apply a small amount of adhesive around the entire frame of the controller housing where the screen will make contact. After applying the glue, wait 3 minutes for the solvent to partially evaporate and for the adhesive to thicken. This helps prevent spreading and drips and provides a better initial bond. When installing the screen, make sure the display flex cable is positioned correctly inside the housing. Carefully place the screen into position and press it firmly against the housing around the entire perimeter. Secure the display to the housing with screen clamps or place a flat protective layer over the display and use a light, evenly distributed weight to hold the screen in place. Do not apply excessive pressure to the center of the screen. Keep the screen secured for at least a few hours before final reassembly. B7000 adhesive can take approximately 24 to 48 hours to fully cure. If you have enough time, allowing the adhesive to fully cure will provide the strongest bond. After waiting at least a couple of hours, you can proceed with reassembling the controller. Remove the rear cover and reconnect the display flex cable to the main board. Before installing the metal heat spreading plate, make sure the thermal paste is still properly positioned. If the thermal paste is dry, dirty, or damaged, replace it with fresh thermal compound. Reinstall the cooling fan assembly, secure it with the 6 screws, and reconnect the fan cable to the main board. Install both battery cells into the controller housing and reconnect the battery connectors to the main board. Make sure the battery cables are routed underneath the battery cells as shown. If the cables are routed incorrectly, they may prevent the rear cover from closing properly or become pinched during reassembly. Before reinstalling the rear cover, make sure none of the cables interfere with the plastic clips or other parts of the housing. A trapped cable can prevent the case from closing and may damage the cable. Reconnect the rear cover cable to the main board, then align both halves of the controller housing and carefully press around the perimeter until all of the clips snap back into place. Reinstall the 2 hex screws behind the control stick storage slot, then reinstall the rubber stick holder. Finally, reinstall the 2 Phillips screws at the bottom of the controller. Once the controller is completely assembled, you can remove any excess adhesive from around the edge of the screen. Because the cured adhesive remains flexible, excess glue can usually be peeled away carefully after it has cured. If you found this guide helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more tech tips and guides. Visit our website for more insights and do-it-yourself guides. Remember, every tech challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Thanks for watching How-FixIT, and we'll see you in the next one.